on Twitter as well. And the reason it's important that we're live on all those different events is because LinkedIn can kind of get wonky sometimes and kick us off of the stream. So if that happens, if the stream cuts short, then head on over to YouTube, Nimsy's YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, any of that stuff. And while you're over there, make sure to like and subscribe, all of that. If you do subscribe to Nimsy or follow us on LinkedIn, then of course you're going to be the first to know about new programming that comes out from Nimsy Insights. One quick plug before we get into it here. I need to talk to you about our sister programs over at Multilingual Television or Multilingual TV. We've got Last Week in Localization with Sarah Hickey. We've got The Venn Diagram with Michael Reed. Te Epe with Juanma Lopez. Open World with the Terra Localization team. Malavlados with Javi. I'm not sure if he's still doing that one, but it's awesome. Go watch the archives. And, of course, the C-Suite Hot Seat, which is sponsored by Nimsy as well, where we interview CEOs from LSPs and ask them, what's your special sauce? How do you make it work? So if any of these programs sound interesting, go on over to MLTV by searching for Multilingual Media on YouTube and subscribe to that channel. Next, really quickly, let's get into some upcoming events that we have here in the language services industry. If you're not already aware, Nimsy Insights as well as Multilingual, we both publish delightful calendars here for the events that we have upcoming in our industry. If you've been in the industry for a while, then you know that we love our events. So make sure to go over here and check these out. Of course, Gala is happening, and along with Game Global, Ascend, DigimarCon, and Global Saki are coming up, and that's just this week that we're looking at there. All right, let's see. Am I done with the intros here? Dear Lord, I hope I'm done with the intros. No, a little bit about the platform. We're here on LinkedIn. It's a live stream on LinkedIn. We like to do things on LinkedIn because everybody's already here on LinkedIn. All of our followers are already here. It's a professional platform. It's a great platform for hosting these events. So one of the things you saw the intro videos, one of the things you can do is hit the reaction buttons. You can hit those as many times as you like during the live stream. And any comments that you make during the live stream, we should be bringing up on screen right here, roundabouts, and reading any questions that you have for the audience. So, without further ado, let's get right into today's topic, shall we? Today's topic is blockchain and cryptocurrencies. What are they all about? For those of us in language services, these are both areas with plenty of new concepts to wrap one's head around. What's real? What's hype? Why should we know about it? In today's show, we're going to talk to some experts, although they might blush if I call them blockchain experts, but they're the closest thing to blockchain experts I can find, and they're better than blockchain experts because these are literally the only people I can find who have that good intersection between localization and blockchain. So let me get into and introduce our guests here, starting with Lucrecia here. Lucrecia is our first guest, and she's the person that I first reached out to on this because I saw her presentation at it was a gala remote event, and it was one of the only folks talking about blockchain, and it's just a great. If you're a Gala member, go over and check out her presentation. I think it was back in March. It's just a nice high-level overview of what blockchain is all about. Next, we have am I on the right screen here? Yes, sir. Next, we have Scott Jackson. Scott Jackson works with Lucrecia, actually, and is the resident blockchain subject matter expert, amongst other things, at Translation Backoffice. So, a little bit about Translation Backoffice. Translation Backoffice facilitates global communications between cultures and peoples. They are one of the largest outsourcing partners of the language services industry, with 150 in-house staff members in 5 different offices spanning the globe. Allowing them to operate 24/7 and support almost any language and their dialects around the world. So go check out Translation Backoffice, because next I'm going to tell you to check out CRESTEC, because Yoko Chiba comes to us from CRESTEC, where she is the CRESTEC USA, where she is the Chief Operating Officer. And she is coming to us from Japan. This is an entirely Asian APAC region panel besides me today. So CRESTEC is, of course, your single source for digital media, printing, and localization with over 30 global locations, 1,600 plus team members. Yoko, welcome to Nimsy Live. Everybody, welcome to Nimsy Live. And I'll turn it over to you guys. I'll shut up here. Did I get all that right? Did I mess anything up? Anybody's titles? This is looking good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the last guest that we have here today is, of course, our chat. So if you're joining us live, make sure to leave your comments and questions over in the chat so that we can get you so that we can respond to those and make sure that those responses remain on LinkedIn, YouTube, and all over the place where this is going to remain live afterwards. So, ladies, gentlemen, welcome to NIMSY Live. I've given you each an introduction, but I'd also like to allow you guys each some time to tell us not just about who you are and what you do, but give us a quick intro to what experience do you have researching or using blockchain technology, and how has this come up in your career? Just so our audience knows, like, all right, this is who we're talking to here today. And Lucrecia, I'll start with you. Why don't you go first here?
Okay, sure. Tucker, I'm very happy to be here. I think what everything you do for the industry is amazing. You and Renato and the rest of the team. Um, well,
There's checks in the mail.
actually,
Thank you for saying that.
um, I work with the most amazing people around the world. We have different offices around the world, and that Scott is he has a mission, a translation back office, and that's educate the rest of the company, everyone at translation back office, about blockchain. We started doing with Yoko a blockchain project. We started a year ago into different languages, and that's basically how we started. So yeah, that's the story about why we started being interested
Okay.
about this topic.
So
But
same reason a lot of us get interested in a lot of things because a client
yeah,
asked us to get interested, right?
exactly. But I want to point out that Scott is the real expert here. He really knows everything. He's like a blockchain god.
Okay,
So
okay.
I'm very happy that he's here also.
I'll ask him the hard questions then. Scott, I don't know enough in order to ask you the hard questions. I don't think, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try. So
Sure.
the first question's easy. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I live in Argentina. I've been here for about 10 years. I've been working full time as in the translation industry for about 6 years now, um, doing QA, proofreading, also translation, but also involved in the vendor management side. And I'm kind of like the head of the QA department for all the translations that we do that go into English. And the subject of blockchain has been interesting to me for a long time. I used to work in the market research field starting a couple decades ago, and was a research analyst mainly in the area of consumer technology, technology development, lots of different things like that. So I kind of had blockchain on the radar for a long time, and then kind of when the coronavirus pandemic started,
Hmm.
like many people, I sort of dove into different online courses and things like that. And one day, I was just kind of looking at different options on one of these online education sites, and I saw that they were doing a free blockchain course. So I just kind of dove into it really heavy in terms of learning, taking lots of different courses, and also trying to get a little bit, excuse me, into how the programming works. What what are the technical concepts? Though that's really deep, and I would never say I'm an expert in that. But there's lots of different ways that it is influential right now. So there's lots of different ways to get into it. But so I guess in the last maybe year and a half or so, I've been kind of going down the rabbit hole, as they say.
Oh
That's
boy.
kind of a typical expression.
Yeah.
So,
I know all
um,
about chasing rabbits down holes. Like that's how I
right, right.
operate here at NIMSY too. It's like I get fixated on something and then it's like
Exactly.
Once you find the subreddit for it, it's all over, right?
There's quite a few
Yeah,
on Reddit.
yeah, I'm sure. Well, thank you, Scott. It's good to have you. We're going to pick that brain of yours coming up,
My
but
pleasure. Thanks
let's,
for having us.
yeah, let's give Yoko a chance to introduce herself here.
Yeah, my turn. So I am Yoko from CRESTEC. I joined this localization industry in 1998 or 1997. It's a million years ago, I feel. So sometimes I can ask to myself why I can stay in this industry for a long time.
Hmm.
So the answer is we can meet people even online or on site, face to face. And I like technologies and I like learning a new everything. So the blockchain is far behind, far beyond the technology. So that it's a good opportunity for me to speak about my experiences and, of course, my challenges. And Lulu kindly invited me to the live. So I'm so thrilled to speak about everything.
Well, and I'm thrilled to have you all. Thank you all for once again for joining us here today. So let's dive right into it, and I'll start by saying, the first thing I want to talk about is what is blockchain, essentially, right? I've had a really hard time finding any material about blockchain, and it's hard to find material about blockchain that's both useful as well as understandable, comprehensible, right? It's like I can find things that are probably very useful, but I'll never be able to understand it. And I can find things out there that I can understand, but it's not very useful. There's a lot of snake oil in this vertical, right? There's a lot of influencers, hashtag influencers out there trying to be experts about blockchain and cryptocurrency and the overlap between those two. So who can give? And let's not talk about crypto and blockchain yet, right? Because they're related, but they're not. Who can give me a quick elevator pitch on what is blockchain? Like, what is it? How does it work? What purpose does it serve? And Scott, I'll just throw
Okay,
that at you probably. Or, I mean, I know you can answer it, Lucrecia, because I've watched your presentation. So I'm going to give it to Scott.
go with Scott,
You're
please.
going to quote somebody,
Sure.
aren't you, Lucrecia?
Well, first off, everybody knows that it's somehow a kind of electronic money or electronic money system.
Uh-huh.
That in itself is not new because we've been using electronic money for many decades now.
Mm-hmm.
If you've used a credit card, if you've used home banking, if you've used a debit card, those are all forms of electronic money. So that's not the new part. The new part is the inventors of uh, Bitcoin who are anonymous, but there's a lot of people that came before Bitcoin, which is the first so-called cryptocurrency. They wanted to be able to create a kind of electronic money that was not issued by a single entity or is not controlled by a single entity. So basically, there were many attempts starting in the 90s of creating digital currencies that were so-called decentralized, meaning that many computers acting as a network could create a monetary system that basically works on its own, that's not controlled by a central bank, that's not controlled by any bank, that's not controlled by a government, etc. And the big problem in doing that is that you can't have just a single large computer sitting somewhere that knows what everybody's balance is, or which is the way that a traditional bank would work. For example, a traditional bank might
Right.
have a giant warehouse full of computers, and they know what everyone's bank account is. The people that created Bitcoin wanted to be able to have a peer-to-peer kind of money system that is decentralized. And so the way that they figured out of how to do that is the blockchain. The blockchain, if you want to think about it as like it's not an Excel file, but let's think about it as an Excel file. So on the first tab, we have, let's say, three columns. One is who is sending the money, who is receiving the money and how much is being sent. Okay.
All right.
So now every 10 minutes, we're adding a whole bunch of new lines onto that file, a whole bunch of new transactions. Now, everybody in the world that has the Bitcoin software can see all of the transactions that are happening in real time because it's a peer-to-peer network. Anytime somebody makes a transaction, the information about that transaction goes out to the entire network. And so every 10 minutes,
And
the
that
computers...
information is a block, right? Is that what a block is? When it
No, every 10 minutes,
no, Tucker.
every 10 minutes, and basically a new block is added. A block is basically a chunk of new transactions.
Oh, okay.
So let's say that every 10 minutes there's about 2,000 more lines that gets added onto that Excel file.
Okay.
And how do they get added? Well, all the different computers that are playing this game, which are known popularly as miners, Bitcoin miners, they're basically playing a game that they're trying to add new translation records onto that file, but they have to pick. Their computers have to pick a random number that's extremely difficult to guess, and they have no way of knowing where that random number is going to be every time the game starts again. If they win that game, then they get a little bit of financial reward for doing that. And so they can't lie about the transactions, because everybody in the world that's participating has perfect information about the entire history of the financial system. So it that's the way that it's structured, so that the monetary system is managed by a decentralized network of thousands of computers, potentially millions of computers all over the world, instead of a single uh, entity. And every time that a new block is published, when one of these computers wins the game, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
it has a kind of digital fingerprint that's produced with a cryptographic function. But let's just call it a fingerprint.
Sure.
Uh, Now, when you publish a new block, that block has a fingerprint, and the next additional block has to include that fingerprint within its chunk of data. And so all of these blocks are basically connected by their fingerprints. And what that means is they have to have a perfect match.
And
Every block,
that's the chain, right? That's
that's
where
the
we get the
chain part.
chain, is because they're connected by these links. Each block links to the next block in the chain.
Exactly. So the block is just a chunk of text that has information about all the transactions that were included in the last 10 minutes, more or less. The chain part is the fact that they're all hooked together by these digital fingerprints that are impossible to fake. And they're called tamper evident, meaning if anyone tried to change any data within the financial history in the blockchain, it would be immediately evident to everyone that's on the system.
Well,
So
this all
go ahead.
this is we're going down that rabbit hole here. And originally, I asked for an elevator pitch like 7 minutes ago, which
Right.
is I'm tempted to go down this rabbit hole with you, though. But Lucrecia, do you have a? Do you remember that quote that you used in your other presentation? Because I do.
Okay. Let,
If you
let,
don't
let
have it,
me let me see if I remember.
oh,
Uh,
okay. Here's the
okay. So
test.
this is basically, I want to explain it very quickly. That a blockchain is a database, like Scott mentioned. It's like an Excel sheet capable of registering any type of global operation through the internet between two people without unnecessary intermediaries.
Mm.
So this is basically, I think, what summarizes the whole idea. It's a platform of trust.
It's banking without banking, without banks. without bankers,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. You got it, Tucker.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this quote, and I'm going to get to you, Yoko. Don't you worry. I'm going to read this quote that Lucrecia mentioned from Don and Alex Tapscott, authors of The Blockchain Revolution. And of course, I'm giving credit to Lucrecia, who gave credit to Don and Alex Tapscott. So it says, the blockchain is an incorruptible digital ledger of economic transactions that can be programmed to record not just financial transactions, but virtually everything of value. I love that for reasons that I'm not going to get into yet, because I want to go over to Yoko and see if she has anything to add here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Scott and Lulu. So my understanding, the blockchain is very simple, and the technology, the core concept of blockchain is share information on cloud and monitor each other to avoid um, the unnecessary modification, etc. So it's a secure and as Lulu mentioned, trustworthy platform. That's what I learned.
And so while we're here with you, Yoko, maybe tell us a little bit about, like, what are the practical applications that you've used it? Like, what kicked off this? Because one day you called up Translation Backoffice and said, what? Like, what was the need that you had?
I'm sorry, what's your question?
Like, what was your need on for using blockchain or bringing
Oh,
blockchain
for
experts into it
using
at
blockchain
CRESTEC?
localization?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's a difficult question, tough question.
It
That's what I wanted
It's
to
very
express.
broad. I'm being very broad because if I try to ask too specific of questions, I'm going to sound really stupid. So,
Sure. Okay, that's for blockchain. As I mentioned, it's a far tech advanced industry. So we always have to learn, eager to or keen on learning about it, the new technology, new concept. So, but for speaking of the cryptocurrency, so in Japan, I mean Japan actually. So in Japan, the Japanese, it's a, of course, a currency is a financial field. So the financial technical terms are very unique in Japanese. So, but because they basically established in the late 19th or early 20th with modernization of the financial system or financial market in Japan. So it means we have been using the similar or the financial terms for over 100 years or 200. Yeah, it's
huh.
a long time. But cryptocurrency and blockchain is a new technology and a new word. So more and more new words are added to this financial field. So the translator and we have to learn about new terms plus traditional financial field. That's the difficult part for us and for maybe translators.
Let me just play devil's advocate here. I'm a client, and I, I, I need educated, right? Because I don't know. Can I use the same translators, the same linguists that I would for traditional fintech, financial stuff? Can I use those same guys to translate blockchain content, like heavy blockchain user content?
Um,
Is there an overlap there? Or maybe this is a
it's,
Scott question.
yeah.
Well, yeah, if you're going to look in your vendor management database, you would definitely want to go to the people that have some expertise in either finance, but it kind of depends. Finance is a good place to start, but it kind of depends on what the end client is actually translating. Are
All
they
right.
translating marketing stuff? Are they translating legal notices? Um, I mean, there there's a kind of a marketing side for a lot of the people that are investing in translation, and there's plenty of regulatory and financial lingo as well. So it kind of depends on what the actual text is that you're working with. But if you're going to start with somebody, you know, probably financial is a good place to start.
So there's not like it's too young of an industry to like have a whole ecosystem of expert translators around it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would at this point, you know, with a lot of, you know, translation agencies, obviously, you're dealing with people that are kind of generalists, that maybe have some areas that they're more experienced in than others. Um, it's probably a little bit early right now to have, you know, full blown blockchain specialists out there, but you know, within a few years, who knows?
Yeah. Well, if we can, let's pull it back a little bit because I did it. I fell into the temptation of talking about the localization industry. But let's step back for a second and talk about, and I'd like to hear from each of you. Where is blockchain? What are the macro changes that are going to be happening? Like, what are the global changes that are happening, the societal changes that blockchain's going to be driving? Like, not just the localization. So it's clearly embedded with finance, cryptocurrencies, right? And there are those out there that think, this is the future. Um, get away with banks altogether and all of that stuff. It's gotten some footholds into some other industries as well, like healthcare, transferring confidential information, stuff like that. I like this quote that I read. I'm going to paraphrase here, but essentially, blockchain is to value what the internet is to information, right? So the internet revolutionized the world because it changed the way that we're able to spread information. Blockchain has the potential to do the same because it can spread information from person to person, or spread value from person to person. And value, the easiest way to think of value is in the form of a currency. But surely there's other ways to add value as well.
Sure. Back to your idea of what's an elevator pitch for this. One of the I guess elevator pitches that you might come across right now is from a guy named Michael Saylor, who's the CEO of MicroStrategies. He's kind of a Bitcoin guru right now, and over time, his metaphor for Bitcoin, which is kind of like the premier cryptocurrency, is that it's digital real estate, or it's digital property rights. So the way that Bitcoin is structured means that it has a 21 million Bitcoin cap, meaning that according to the way it's programmed, it can never have more than 21 million Bitcoins. And so he likens that to he like calling it cyber Manhattan. So when you're investing in a cryptocurrency, if it's well structured, it's like buying into the ground beneath Manhattan or beneath Miami or some other city. There can be lots of cryptocurrencies the same way that there can be lots of cities on the planet, and the ones that are more valued will have more people building things on top of that land. So it's considered a way of making a secure and rare form of digital value that exists on the internet in a potentially perpetual way. And the things that you build on top of that make it possible for users to invest their own savings into that value, and also be able to send it to other people, buy other things with it, invest it, etc. In the internet. So another way that Bitcoin has been described is called the Internet of Money, which is kind of what you were getting to as well. So really, the idea that many people have recognized is that the internet has been absorbing many different aspects of human culture, and digitalizing many different aspects of human culture. And cryptocurrencies represent the next phase, which is that property rights are going to be encoded into the internet. And so many of the cryptocurrencies, you could say, would be if you want to use the idea that they're different cities or different bodies of real estate, the vast majority, you could say, would be places that nobody would want to live in, or nobody would trust to live in, or nobody would want to invest in. But the big ones are places that people would definitely want to invest in.
Yeah, I'm resisting the urge to go down the other rabbit hole of like what are the implications for society, for privacy, for the right to anonymity, and all of those things. Because we have a question from the audience. So let's go on over here. Marcelo Rizzo, how would you use the block? You're going to take us right into localization again, aren't you, Marcelo? Okay, that's fine. How would you use the blockchain SS part of the loc workflow? What does that mean? Blockchain SS part of the loc workflow. Do we understand this? How would you use blockchain in the localization workflow? Beyond Lucrecia?
Yeah, I think like we have to differentiate like certain things. In the short term, I think the most important thing for us is what Scott and Yoko were saying, that basically this is a new subject matter field, and at the beginning there were no translations for most of the terms. They were still in English. But if we want to reach the mainstream audience, um, we have to start developing new terminology. And I think that's the most important thing right now in the short term. And also, not only for the translators and the reviewers to understand the technology and the new terminology and how it works and how to do it, but also, for example, um, LSP's owners or managers or business development managers, we also have to know about this topic when talking with clients,
Yeah.
right? Then we
So
have,
that's the short
and
term. Like that's just like, hey y'all, you need to know how to speak
yes,
intelligently about this at the very, because you're going to have clients who are asking you about it, right? And if you want to
hmm
add value to your clients, then you at least either A, need to know how to speak intelligently, or know somebody who does, so that you can send them to them, right? So that's step one. Did I get that right? Awesome.
exactly. That's in in the short term. Then we have in the midterm, and this is something that I learned from Scott, actually from his training. Um, as we have some translators that are starting to ask us for payment in cryptocurrencies. So we have to
Really?
uh, change our mindset a little bit here, because this is going to happen eventually, I think. We will have to pay with cryptocurrencies, and probably we will get paid with cryptocurrencies also. The thing is that we don't know, like, legally, it's different in each country. It's
Yeah.
very, very, that's not easy. But going back a little bit to what you were saying before and the social implications, this is something very interesting. Let's say you have Maria in Canada, who is a housekeeper, and she wants to send money to, I don't know, her mom in the Philippines. And she wants to send $100. If she does this, uh, sending a bank transfer, she has to pay between 10 and 20% um,
It's
of her
like, this is
money.
something that like everybody in the loc industry who has ever had to pay somebody can. It's like, oh, like they
Exactly.
can feel the headache, right? Like
I know.
those
And
international money
imagine,
transfers.
yeah, imagine like for this person who probably is struggling financially, she has to send money to her family. Um, Saving that amount, it's very significant. And that's also going to happen with translators. I think if I'm correct, maybe Scott can correct me, but I think you have to pay around 2% for each transaction, which is
No,
10%
it's much
of that
smaller.
20%.
No,
Yeah, exactly.
it's much
And
smaller.
It's
mhm,
for a direct.
smaller.
It's smaller than two. I mean, yeah, but it depends too. It's like, and this isn't just an international thing, right? Like I'm trying to. I've just been too busy. Sorry, Miss Emily, if you're watching me, but my kid's preschool teacher has asked for help setting up a way for them to accept payments online from the parents, from me, from other parents, right? And so, yeah, sure, I can help you with that. I did it for NIMSY. I did it for Multilingual. But like for NIMSY and Multilingual, I just don't care. Like I'll eat the 2% for the credit card fees, right? Or for the debit card to be able to accept these different things. But for small business owners, like really small business owners, that's a lot of money, right? And it's like, if the option is so, like at NIMSY, I care about brand perception, I care about user experience, I care about all of these things. Preschool teachers don't, right? They're like, I've got your kids, and oh, you have to write me a check, and it's painful for you. Wham, give me my money, right? I mean, they can, they don't say that, but how better of a world would we live in is if all of that went away. All of the reasons for causing unnecessary inefficiencies just went away. And based upon what I've been looking at blockchain, it looks like the potential to do that. Rebuttal. I see Scott thinking.
Well, I mean, the big test case right now is El Salvador. Just a month ago, El Salvador was the first country in history to accept Bitcoin as a national currency, and they also rolled out a custom built Bitcoin wallet that's specifically meant to facilitate the kind of situation that Lucrecia was talking about, which is, person-to-person payments. The president of El Salvador came out with an estimate that he thinks that El Salvadorians will be able to save $400 million a year on what would have gone to Western Union fees, um, originating from remittances from family members abroad.
Yep.
So geopolitically, socially, that's a huge experiment or step that's going on right now. I mean, we have a country that's fully bought into Bitcoin at this point. So that's a big one.
I,
So
I
it's
didn't know
not
about
really
it.
a niche at that point.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah,
I'm a newbie. I did not know about that, but I damn well better believe I'm Googling that tonight because it sounds interesting.
sure. U.S. Bank today just announced that they're going to start using Bitcoin and crypto capabilities in their investment branches.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of people that are starting to get on it right now.
And Yoko, what any input from you about how would you use blockchain as part of the localization workflow? You
Okay.
touched upon that a little bit earlier, kind of saying like, it's not really there yet. But anything to add?
Yes, Annie. Once again, I'm based in Japan, so I can talk about a little bit about Japan market in blockchain industry. So many Japanese crypto companies are available, and of course the users are. But we have one bunch of crypto users. So, but majority of users, well, the majority of users are using the Japanese companies one, just because Japanese people tend to like the Japanese product, and also uh, they like to have a sense of confidence through the quality of product service, and through the product itself, and through the written text. So if they feel this Japanese is a translated version of something, so they don't want to use it. So from the localization point of view, we have to produce the market suitable translation, not maybe sometimes the transcreation is required to meet a certain level of the customers. But so that's what I learned, and it's always happening in Japan, actually.
What's that always happening specifically?
That quality.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we could talk about Japanese quality, but we would get off topic there. No, but Japanese, it's always interesting. Like, to me, like someone in Japan is the perfect person to ask about linguistic challenges in regards to emerging technologies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Japan is a market that is full of early adopters, relatively speaking, right? But full of early adopters of new technologies. And it's just a challenging market it's not a welcoming market for translations, right? For localization. It's, you do your power poses before you go into the Japanese market, right? So it actually provides a pretty good case study, I'd say.
Yeah. I of course I cannot standardize or generalize about Japanese market, but
nor should I, but I just did. So apologies if I caused offense.
Yeah, but it's challenging, especially for this financial. It's nobody want to lose their money, so it's blockchain crypto something is more required more in quality or confidence on the localization that text.
We talked a lot about. No, I don't know if we talked a lot about, but I think Scott, you used the word intermediaries, right? Or maybe it was Lucrecia. Removing the intermediaries. So traditionally, if I need to send money, then I need a trusted intermediary, and it goes to a bank who everybody trusts. That bank manages the dispersal accordingly. And what we're talking about now is just me being able to send money wherever I want. And this leads, if I'm in the localization industry and I'm reading about this and I'm understanding it, my immediately thought goes to, how does this affect the LSP, the language service provider? Because we are intermediaries of value ourselves, right? We don't create translations, we manage it, and that's how we add our value. It's a value-added service, right? By managing the translation process, unless, of course, the LSP has in-house translators. There's different models, of course, right? But will this lead to a world where the LSP isn't needed, where the client can just create requests and it goes back to no? Why not?
I think that's so we talked about the short-term implications and the mid-term implications, and then this is exactly I think more about long-term implications of blockchain. There are a few platforms, very, very few platforms that are starting to experiment with this technology and the translation industry. But this is something that we were discussing with Scott a week ago. There is no real need, I think, nowadays for us to use this technology. If we think about removing unnecessary intermediaries, we can. I'm reading your book, Tucker, about the what's the name? The
My
translation
book?
company.
Yeah.
And how do we add value as that one? as LSPs. Basically, we orchestrate everything. So we have to find the right translators. How do you find the right translators, the right reviewers? How do you train them? Who will manage the projects? That's why we are here for. So I think for now, there is no need for us to use this technology as a platform for doing translations. That's my 2 cents.
You stole my final question that I had prepared.
Sorry.
That was going to be my final question, but you stole it. So good for you.
Very sorry.
Scott, I saw you wanted to say something. look like it?
Well, kind of going back to the question from one of the viewers, I think a lot of people, want to think how does the technology apply to the translation industry, and just to kind of keep in mind the actual technology that runs the blockchain in a situation like a cryptocurrency is way overcomplicated for like any actual workflow that you would want to try to accomplish in the translation field. The complexity and the scale of the computer networks that are running to basically secure and create the Bitcoin network or the Ethereum network, for example. They're so complex and so large, but it's solving a different problem altogether. The kind so the reality of those new entities, decentralized monetary systems, that will, I think, affect us in terms of the demand for payments, or the need to make payments, or the need to consider taking payments in those currencies, and the kind of dynamics that will come from that with demand from translators. But the actual technology of blockchain itself is, I would say that it's way overcomplicated for actually doing translation work. I mean, the kinds of platforms that we have, we would call, centralized platforms, online cat tools. I mean, I think that those are entirely sufficient for translating, millions of words at a time, without the need for a huge global network of decentralized computers. So part of the snake oil that you were referring to in the intro started coming up about 5 years ago, where blockchain is a massive hype word, and everybody somehow thinks that it's a technology that they have to use, or that they have to apply to the way they work. And It's good to remember that blockchain is about immutability, or keeping a record of something that is so important that can never change. Now, what do we have in the translation industry that we can never allow to change? Uh, Not a lot, really. I mean, we have translation memories, but even translation memories don't last forever, and nobody wants them to last forever. A few years go by, and you might look at something that people did a few years ago, and you think, well, we need to do this differently, or the client has a new set of terms now. So the idea of a immutable, unchangeable record that has to last forever is not really something that we want or that we need either.
Yeah.
So the effects of it, we are going to feel, and there could be lots of technological bells and whistles that get integrated into um, online cat tools, or different things like that we could go into. But the blockchain by itself is a totally different animal, and it's not something that we
Yeah.
need to think that we need to get into our workflows per se.
So if you have a boss who told you one day, listened to a podcast and came into work and said, "I want you to go implement blockchains," then you can. The appropriate answer is, "Yeah, that's not really how it works," right? You don't just. It's not. Yeah, it's more of a, and the way I see it, it's more of a back end thing, right? It's not something that I think it's something that's going to change the way that we work as a society, but not in many noticeable ways, right? Because the UI wrappers that sit on top of whatever that we're using, um, like we're not even going to notice the difference, right? We'll notice faster transaction speeds. We'll notice more transparency in data. We'll notice all of those things. But us humans, by my estimation, we have a way of just taking that kind of stuff for granted and not noticing it. Anyways. But I want to take this opportunity, though, to we're coming up on it here. 10 minutes. I told these folks we'd get out of here, and we'd do this in an hour. But if you're watching this, we've had solid. We don't not breaking 100 on this one, but we've had 17 people joining us, and staying with us, which I'd rather have 17 people join an episode like this and stay for the whole thing than have 100 join and end up with 17. So kudos, thank you to you guys for joining. But now it's your last chance. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and drop those in the comment section here on LinkedIn or whatever platform you are on. And with that, I'll start wrapping it up here. We'll give people a chance to put any last comments in here, but we'll move on to Tuck's takeaways here because I've got my key things here in case it's helpful to others. So Tuck's takeaway number 1 for blockchain technology. So Bitcoin, and we didn't even talk about this. Gosh darn it, you can tell I wrote these takeaways beforehand. I normally write them during, but this is too much. So Bitcoin is not blockchain. Blockchain is the underlying technology that allows Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to exist. However, it's only one application of blockchain. So we did kind of get into that a little bit, and I'll give you guys a chance for rebuttals here. Takeaway number 2, blockchain removes the need for trusted intermediaries and the time needed to go through these intermediaries. Blockchain is to value as the internet is to information. I think we've said this in a number of different ways throughout this, but essentially it's taking out the middleman. It's taking out the need to have a trusted authority standing between you and the person that you're trying to transact with. And lastly here, what do we got? Takeaway number 3, whether or not we are using blockchain in our localization workflows, we still need to be able to understand it and speak intelligently in order to better serve our customers. And that dovetails nicely to what we all were just talking about. It's like, even if you don't need to use it, you need to at least be able to say something about this. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, I'll use this as you don't even need to know about it. You just need to know what to say, right? Like, I use this all the time. I don't know much, like China. China is, just because this is our APAC show here, China, love you. You're complex, right? You're complex for a stupid American like me. So I don't understand China as well as I should, considering that I'm in the localization industry, right? So I don't have to go learn everything about China. I just need to know I don't know enough about China, but let me introduce you to someone that does. And having you guys on the show, I've got 3 more people I can introduce. If someone wants to come talk about blockchain with me, I'm like, I don't know about blockchain, but let me send you some emails. So,
and this is also how you learn, right?
Yeah.
Like this, sharing, and that's basically why we are here. Like, I've learned almost everything I know from Scott, and I think this is going back a little bit to Bitcoin that we didn't talk about that much. I think that's not really important. I don't think this is about money. This is about going back a little bit again to, this is a platform of trust. And we have no idea how this technology is going to change things. Maybe Bitcoin will not work. Maybe cryptocurrencies will not work.
Mm-hmm.
We have no idea what's going to happen. But definitely, I think this is going to change things as we know it.
In a way, it's almost sad. And for the record, guys, like, I don't need to go anywhere. So I don't have to get out of here, but I want to be respectful of your time. So if you want to go over time, we can. And we have another question here, so we probably will. Let's just get into that. Let's see what we have to say over here. Nick Lambson, blockchain's only application is money, and all money is in competition with other money. It's Bitcoin or nothing, in my perspective. Hello from China. Thank you for that well-rounded and unbiased opinion about. Obviously, someone's invest. By the way, this is nothing that we say here should be construed as financial advice. I was told to say that by Scott, so I'm saying that right now. We are not offering any financial advice. We hardly know what we're talking about on things that we do know that we're talking about. So yeah, there's not so much a question, but there's an opinion on Bitcoin. But yeah, what I was saying is it's almost a shame that Bitcoin and blockchain have gotten so wrapped up together because people think of them as the same thing. And going back to the snake oil salesman that I was talking about earlier, it's like I don't think there's blockchain snake oil salesmen. I think there's a lot of cryptocurrency snake oil salesmen. So, like before we were doing this, and I was just trying to learn a little bit about blockchain, I lumped them together in the same business. And now I'm sorry that I did. I see we have one other comment now. Wow, getting them in. Which terminology? And this is from. Let's go over here. Maria Pinero. Oh, Maria Pinero. Which terminology tools would help translators keep track of this constant flow of neologisms? Well, someone smarter than me needs to answer this. I don't know what a neologism is.
It means a new word.
Then say new word, Maria. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Just Google cryptocurrency slang.
Cryptocurrency slang.
Or Bitcoin slang. Or I mean, it depends on how deep you want to get into it. If you want to be familiar enough to speak about the trends or the new words or whatever, you can go on to forums, you can go on to Reddit and follow the forums. You learn a lot there. Otherwise, if you're just trying to do a quick and dirty study session, just Google cryptocurrency slang or Bitcoin slang. There's lots of people that have already kind of made kind of cheat sheets that are online for these kind of things. Tucker, going back to again to one of the other questions about how this is going to affect
Sure.
Our industry. One of the big trends, the global trends that might be interesting for your upcoming show on Africa as well is just the story of cryptocurrency in Africa. One of the big elevator pitches for cryptocurrency in general is that it's going to help bank the unbanked. What does that mean? The idea is that it's going to give the ability to save and the ability to make transactions for millions of people, potentially billions of people that don't have access to regular bank accounts. And that idea is happening in El Salvador, and in lots of places in Latin America, and it's happening, according to all accounts, in Africa on a very large scale. So Africa leapfrogged traditional telephony, traditional telephone infrastructure massively, and they just leapfrog directly into mobile technology in a big way over the last couple decades, and they've been innovating a lot with mobile technology. Now they're starting to do the same thing with different cryptocurrency networks, and their regular people are investing into it, and they are actually becoming banked through cryptocurrency, whereas they were traditionally what you would call unbanked. So that's happening in a big way in Africa. And that could mean that maybe in the next generation, in the next decade, you would see a lot of people, individuals that want to become language service providers, translators in their own local languages, people that have never been in it before, possibly because they don't have access to a bank account or the same kind of financial tools that we take for granted. And so you could start seeing a lot more activity in language pairs and language services in Africa that haven't really been part of the mix so far. And you're going to have a lot of motivated people that are willing and interested in working with cryptocurrencies to be part of the global economy for the first time.
That's a huge thing. I'm just thinking back on how many times I've worked my butt off to find that translator for that language that I can't pronounce, the one that you've never heard of. And then you finally find them and they say, oh, I can't accept bank transfers. I need this one system. They only use this one thing that you can't get your finance department to sign off on and all that stuff. So, I mean, that can be huge, just opening up markets.
Well, Africa, I mean, if you want to put a single word on it, that dynamic is going to blow up in a big way in Africa. But to go to your example again about trying to find that difficult language, there could be millions of translators all over the world that have that language that you want, that they could never have all of the different um, bank tools and
Yep.
financial tools, and now you're going to be able to have a peer-to-peer payment method to be able to work directly with those translators. So it could really change the way that vendor management works.
Yeah, so many applications. Yoko, I've been doing a horrible job. I haven't been calling on you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my understanding is the not only for tech company but also the blockchain crypto companies required request us to becoming more agile translation, agile workflow, and of course they are keen on the business agility. So as an LSP, I um, I have a feeling that we will have to be more flexible to adapt their business and to help their businesses. That's what I'm feeling right now.
Makes sense. And I just got to say, Yoko, that was the first time I was looking at it. I love your art in the background.
Oh, thank you. I'm in cafe, virtual cafe.
That is beautiful. Yeah. So, on that note, though, I was bragging about our 17 fans that had been with us the whole time. Now we're down to 13, so I can take a hint here. I'll start playing us out. Guys, this is awesome. Lucrecia, thank you so much for making this happen. This didn't happen because of me. This happened because of Lucrecia. I think, I don't remember if you pinged me or I pinged you, but she's the one that did all the work. So, gracias. Thank you very much. Joining us from Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. And Scott, thank you for joining us from Argentina. You're in Argentina now, right?
That's correct.
I've got to ask, though, what state are you from up here?
From Portland, Oregon.
Damn straight. All right. I was like, this guy does not. I mean, Scott Jackson, he's got to be one of mine up here. So, welcome. Are you in Rosario or Buenos Aires?
No, I'm in Cordoba.
Nice. Very cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
No, thank you very much for having us. My pleasure.
And Yoko, to you as well. Thank you very much for joining us. And all of the value that you guys added. So, with that, I have, I'm sure, an outro here that I can find. Give me a sec here. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time today. So, if you liked or if you enjoyed the NIMSY Live experience, then join us next time. I'm going to be talking on Tuesday, October 26th, it looks like, with Miguel Sepulveda. Miguel is the mastermind behind Localization. That's, I'm not going to spell it for you. Google it. Y-O, I am going to spell it for you. Y-O, localizo.com. And he's also the localization director at King, the mobile apps, mobile gaming organization, as well as a consultant here at NIMSY Insights. And he's always here. And now my music's going to go out. He's always here to help our clients with the expert advice that they need before looking at things. So that is going to be happening on October 26th. The event in LinkedIn is live, so you can go over there right now and sign up so that you'll be notified when we go live on that one. So, once again, finally, my name is Tucker Johnson. I am the host of NIMSY Live. It's been my pleasure to join all of you today. I appreciate our guests, Lucrecia, Scott, Yoko. I appreciate our operator. We don't have an operator today, so that would be me. And I appreciate everybody in our industry that contributes to the research, the ongoing research that we do here at NIMSY and other organizations doing industry research for the betterment of the localization industry as a whole. And lastly, I appreciate you, all 10 of you. You hung in there with us. I appreciate all 10 of you, and I appreciate the other 7 as well, but especially you guys. Don't tell them I said that. So with that, I will bid you adieu, and we'll see you next time.